But right now, let's bring in State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce. Tammy, we're so fortunate to have you here to react in real time because obviously we're waiting to see if there's a trade deal struck.
Sure.
But the president got a number of questions there about the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza. What was your reaction there?
Yes, and he's, of course, been very open. We've all been horrified by what we've been seeing, which is why his administration has been committed to stopping the carnage, not just there, but in other locations of the world as well, as a peacemaker. But he's also a realist. We've been doing this for months, and he is correct. There was a negotiation. Hamas walked away essentially from it. We had a ceasefire early on. They walked away and destroyed that. There was a ceasefire on October 7th when they implemented that atrocity against Israel and all of those innocent people. 1,200 dead, over 250 taken hostage. So we know who we're dealing with. They're monsters, effectively. And the situation in Gaza is a reflection of the Gazan people being the first victims of this terrorist group. And it continues on. They are the one entity that could stop this immediately by laying down their arms and releasing the hostages. They refuse to do so. And as the president noted, this has to be a decision of the Israeli prime minister. But we have been contributing not just with negotiations and getting the parties to the table, but as the president noted, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars for food and aid, and making sure, of course, that it wouldn't get to Hamas in the meantime.
Tammy, yesterday, the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, tweeted pretty strong words towards Israel, saying that Israel has to let aid in, which is essentially standing behind the UN's position, accusing Israel of denying aid into Gaza. What was your reaction to that?
Well, it's a shame. Obviously, in a lot of these stories, the word Hamas never comes up. But at the same time, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which the United States State Department has supported, has distributed over 90 million meals in the last few months with 4 distribution sites. It is dangerous. It is a war zone. It is managed by a terrorist group, making it even more dangerous. There are, I believe, we hear the reports of hundreds of UN trucks. And in a New York Times story, they noted that they aren't bringing the trucks in, the UN, because it's dangerous. Well, if it is Israel's fault, if it's about trucks getting through, I'm not quite sure. Are they acknowledging that Hamas is controlling that zone and killing people? They are the only ones who benefit from the horrible scenes we've been seeing, from the starvation of people. They exist to destroy people's lives. So it's an amazing dynamic where we have given money, as the president noted.
60 million.
Well, 60 million. Again, the 90 million meals that are distributed by GHF, our desire to have other groups join us, and they refuse. And it is a perplexing dynamic. It is dangerous. That is one of the issues. And we have to make sure the food does not get looted and moved by Hamas. It is weaponized food aid. It sells it. It controls the population with food aid. But in the meantime, this can be resolved. Hamas refuses. They continue to torture the people of Gaza, the hostages that remain, the living hostages. So our commitment, obviously, is wanting all of this to end. We have a great special envoy, Witkoff, who's working on this. But as the president noted, Israel has a decision to make. But in the meantime, there is a template in which we can get food in. They have done some airdrops. The president's called for new ideas in how to deal with this, and that's what we support.
So, Tammy, before we run out of time, I do want to address, there was a bit of news there, President Trump addressing the conflict between Cambodia and Thailand.
Yes.
I know Secretary Rubio has spoken to leaders in both countries in the last 24, 48 hours. What can you tell us?
Well, you know, the news fighting started late last month, and we're concerned. The president and the secretary have spoken with leaders there. But the president mentioned something very important, of course, is that both countries are interested in a trade deal. So here you have an issue that we know has mattered to the president financially, economically for the United States. We want more of a fair deal for us. It's reasonable. But now he's noted that they've asked for more trade discussions, but he says not until you stop fighting. It is the perfect blend between what's important for the president, what matters with diplomacy, and the nature of how thinking about America first, assists the world and other countries as well. So it's a perfect Trumpian dynamic where he cares about, wants fighting to stop. He has a method with which to stop it. The secretary, of course, and his communication being the mover of the hand of foreign policy of Donald Trump.
Could we see
we're
more
very excited.
engagement? I've got to move on, but could we see more engagement from Secretary Rubio?
I think so.
Situation?
Yes, I think it's a given in some ways because of the management of the issue of trade attached to the end of fighting. Secretary Rubio is involved in all of these conversations. He is the mover. It's a very exciting time. It's a difficult time, but it's this time when we can change things ranging from Gaza to Russia and Ukraine to what's happening in the Indo-Pacific region, everywhere, that we can stop these issues for good with a durable, enduring peace to make everyone's lives better.
Tammy Bruce, spokesperson of the State Department, thank you. It was great to have you here to react in real time.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.